good thoughts, having a good time, sharing good energy with good people in good places, doing good things. Here, let me make sure the audio is on. Time, share. Yep. All right. So the title of this is about you multiplying your worth. You did it alone. You single-handedly hung them up from a flagpole, and they wanted you to believe you were making a mistake. But since you've made mistakes before, you didn't have any problem with taking the risk. You understood people only respect what they cannot afford. You set your sights on making your worth rise beyond their reach, and now you are well beyond their reach. All right, let's see what's good. Yeah. All right. So it looks like you may have gotten yourself out of a murky situation, a gray situation, and probably even by looking deeper and understanding, like, okay, why have I been feeling depressed? Why have I been feeling like, I'm in a battle or whatever it is? And it's because you were looking towards someone maybe that wasn't into you, or you're accepting. Yeah. You're accepting that this person is giving you a dirty offer. You've accepted that. You've accepted that they're a played out person. You know they're not into you. All right. So you understood that people can only respect what they can't afford. You set your sights on making your worth rise beyond their reach. Now you're well beyond their reach because you're no longer in that gray situation where you're fearful of them not taking you back or it not working out with them. You're just not into them anymore. Now, majority of these past people, and it could be a friend, it could be a coworker, it could be an ex-lover, an ex-partner, whatever it is. But majority of them have already changed their tone. Yeah. It looks like you're focused more on your vision, But someone else is also focused on your vision, whomever this person is that you're avoiding or left alone. They've changed their tone. So if they were trying to pretend like, oh, okay, I'm not bothered, or oh, okay, I don't want this person, or oh, okay, I want you. That's where they're changing their tone, but they're still coming after you is what it seems like. These people could be talking about healing themselves, preventing fake offers now that they're reformed or refined or repentant. But literally this person is trying to get you to become intimate or to connect with them in some way. Okay. So I'll get down to the nitty gritty at the end about clearing people out of your energy. Yeah. Blocking people. I'll get into that. Blocking people, your protection, how to even maybe change up things with respect to what is being communicated to others, etc. How to so employ yourself is what I'm hearing, like how to really work consulting yourself, so you don't always need to go to anyone to do your cleansings for you and things like that, and understanding like what to truly devote yourself to and how. Okay. And essentially what's going to result from this is this block person is going to be shattered. So once you take this process here in the middle, they end up in this shattered energy. So they're pretending to be reformed, refined, and repentant. They don't realize yet that the reason that you've never turned back to them with apologies or requests for you to reconsider them or calls to explain to them how you see the truth about who they are, the reason you don't do that is because it's not going to earn any of their respect. They're not going to respect you because you speak up and tell them, leave me alone. They're not going to respect that. It's about what you see, know, and think basically has no value to them. They don't care about any emotions that you may have, whether you're angry with them, whether, whatever it is. They don't care. Okay. And you see, what you know, and what you think has no value to them. At least that's what they thought before you walked away for good. Because if you held no value, then they would leave you alone, right? But essentially you held no value to them. So their thoughts and opinions held no value to you either. They wouldn't respect you no matter what. Okay. That's just the reality. So back to speaking of value. Look. Speaking up, 30-day challenge. validating your past, not caring anymore. Okay. So this is you creating that escape, you know. Some people even maybe setting deadlines for yourself with this 30-day challenge. We're going to get more into that too. It's at the end I was going to talk about that. So speaking of value again, you knew you couldn't and wouldn't want to buy your respect. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want to buy your respect by whatever it is, you know, period. And you earned your respect through your toil and labor. Your endurance is pure currency. They'll come knocking again, like I said, with apologies. And remember when that time when we did this, or remember that time when yada, 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 right? But you won't even answer them, is what I'm understanding here. You won't even give it any mind. They undervalued you. You were never cheap, though. You were never cheap. And there's no return policy with you. There's absolutely no takebacks. What's this here? Yep. Sit, just rest, ponder, thinking, sad, looking back, reminiscing, sitting in stubbornness. So that's what you're going to get out of. Not speaking up, because that's here too. Oh, yeah. So that's what you're going to get out of. You're going to get out of this just sitting. You know, if you feel like you haven't made that actual move forward, this is how you're raising that value for yourself. So these people undervalued you and you were never cheap. There's absolutely no takebacks. And you didn't beg them for a spot on their team like everybody else. Everybody else maybe sees them as this way or that way. And at this point, you could care less. You could care less what other people see in them because you don't see them at all, is what I'm understanding. You started charging admission to your game, okay? The one that you made up, the game that you're playing, okay? And it's not necessarily that it's a game, but it's just your strategy more than anything. So they're going to ask you, or if you let them have contact with them, or they're going to wonder what changed. Well, you did, collective. You decided that touching you came with a price, whether that be spiritually, whether that be physically, no matter what, like with their words, whatever it is. You decided that that comes with a price. Not like yacht girls and boys. Okay, it's not like that. Like they can't, nobody just pay for, you know, a moment with you because that's cheap. Let's look at it as in terms of like liquor. There's well liquor and your top shelf premium liquor. They might go out saying, oh, this person's price is inflated. You know, they're not worth this or that. Your marketing is all smoke and mirrors, you know, because we're going to start talking about the drinks that is on me today. You didn't care, though. You just continue to exist at full rate. Okay. Even the boldest ones among them feel like your cost is unbearable. And that's where the story changes. They know that there's no amount of anything. They just can't afford you, right? The richest man in the room isn't the one with all the money. It's the one that you can't buy, okay? And they're terrified because you refuse to compromise on this. What's this? Came out in reverse on the floor. Yeah, they're in disharmony and they're probably trying to send some chaos magic to you or keep you out of alignment with whatever it is that you're working towards. I was wondering when that fourth card up there was going to come out. They're terrified because you don't want to compromise with them. Like there's no harmony between you guys. And it's mostly because of who they are. You know what I mean? They're well liquor, your top shelf. There's a difference. Anyone can buy attention, but no one can buy self-control. That's the difference. There's self-control here. If you can't afford top shelf liquor, you either save up for that wonderful bottle of wine that you wanted or, you know, whatever it is. If you can't afford it, you shouldn't be out drinking anyway, but you know, that's later in this. Your value isn't external also. It's not like it's just like, oh, this is a bottle of such and such, you know, Dom Perignon, and it's got the labeling and it's got the box that it comes in and yada, yada, yada. Your value isn't external. It's not external. It's based on how much you value your peace. Money versus principles is what we're talking about here. Money versus principles. Principles don't negotiate. Okay. And that's where you're at, not negotiating with these people. Okay. And those principles that you put that you put in place have put you into a different league at this point in time. I want it to fall out the deck, please. All right. Yeah. This person is going to be shattered because you're not in this energy of feeling bad for whatever happened during the course of time that you were involved with them, whether it be someone that you worked with, someone that you're not a psychopath, you're not abusive, you're not conniving, you're not unpredictable. You are unpredictable in the way of not allowing someone to betray you by setting up those boundaries, keeping yourself away from people that, have no regard for you. But those principles that you put into place put you into this different league. You went out there for yourself, but you knew as well that you wouldn't get anywhere if your team didn't win, right? Your team didn't win, whatever that team looks like to you. That could be, your group of cousins you always hang out with, your boys. It could be your children, whatever your team looks like. They say that you think you're the MVP, that you're the best of the best of the best. But all along, you knew you were just simply the hype man. You don't need to be MVP. You the hype man, okay? Now think about that for a minute. All along, you knew you were the hype man. Somebody's got to get the team hyped up and motivated, right? And you know that if it's not about you, then who is it about? If there's no hype man, where's the morale of the team go? Et cetera, right? And not in a selfish or low vibrational way, but if you start negotiating your work, you'd have to change your principles. So you set a standard, a marker, a level, or even a goal for yourself. And that's when that power shifted. They can't predict you, so they can't put a price on you either. They don't know how to buy you. They don't even know where to buy you. They don't even know what you're called at this point, okay? When people can't buy you, they start fearing you. When they can't tempt you, they start respecting you, all right? That's what you've learned in this instance. Nice. Let's see what's next. Yeah, all right. Right now, you're too stable for manipulation. You're too self-contained for flattery to work, and you're too focused for distraction, all right? Every time you said no, you added a 0 to your value. Every time you ignored them provoking and projecting towards you, it raised your value another level. Top shelf liquor doesn't get there by chance, okay? It's a clear separation based on the process of using higher quality raw ingredients. This is just facts about liquor. Okay. Now, it's a meticulous crafting. So you've meticulously crafted yourself as you've worked in silence, producing the best possible version of yourself. Okay. Now, some people might have said you were a late bloomer, right? But nah. Top shelf liquor requires a longer and more careful aging process, right? Because we're talking about buying out the bar. Ooh. Whoever this is sending this energy to you isn't a stranger, because this is the stranger card in reverse. This person isn't a stranger to you. This person thinks they know you, but it's not somebody you haven't met. This person is not being just right now either. They're not painting anything that's accurate, is what I'm hearing, with respect to who you are. So this person is sending out this chaos magic for you to feel like you're your old self, okay? Again, they don't even know. They're calling you they're saying you're the MVP, or that you think you are, but really you feel like this person is that you're but you know that you're the hype man, so to speak. Okay? This person is not a friend, and you don't care anymore about that friendship. This person is not protected in whatever it is that they're doing right now. And they're not able to influence whatever it is that they're trying to influence intentionally, and we're going to get more to that later too. They're not able to create or put out there something that makes people see you in a light. So basically, whatever the chaos magic they're trying to do, people are going to see right through that by the way you're responding. And then they're also not able to isolate you from whatever your goal is, whatever it is that you're pursuing. So they called you a late bloomer, right? But you realize that top shelf liquor requires a longer, more careful aging process. That's what makes you more refined, collective. A more refined distilling technique results in a superior taste, is what it says. Smoothness and overall experience. So you've created yourself to have a distinctive and unique and superior taste. You're smooth in the way that you do things. You're not out here in this chaotic energy that they're trying to send towards you. And it's an overall lovely experience, all right? If money is time, then what does that make you? If you're someone who's taking your time to do your spiritual cleansing, doing your shadow work, etc., what does that make you? Not a late bloomer, right? just more superior in taste, smoothness, and overall experience. You are premium quality. The process to raise your vibration higher meant taking a longer process. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. What's this about? Oh, people have evidence. People see that you're in this process too. People see you creating this change. People see you going through your refinement or your distilling process, because, we're talking about liquor here. Okay. That's why it started taking longer and longer for you to even know about their spell work. All right. Because you were so, you were in a different process. Okay. If it even reaches you at all. If whatever they're doing even reaches you at all. Typically it's not. But the clock ran out on them is what I'm understanding. The clock ran out. Yeah. This person is, let's see, what's going on with this? Ooh, you're channeling your power over all these things that this person is trying to do. You're channeling your power. So maybe there's some extra tidbits in this reading about channeling that power right now. All right. So, and that's also what helped you to avoid whatever their spell work is, if it reaches you at all. That longer process, okay, that's how you're working your magic in this moment. All right. Takes time, a lot of time, and that clock ran out for them to be able to affect you. All right. Now, they're dragging out the process by not giving up, but it's not your process that they're dragging. It's their own process of giving up. Okay. Not realizing how high their production costs were getting, meaning how much time they're spending, sending you the evil eye, how much time they're spending, talking about you. They're not realizing how high those production costs were getting for them. Amplifying your value, the more money they spent on spell work or paying people to come after you. It's like if you would pay hundreds and thousands of dollars to do spell work on someone, you're saying that it's worth every penny. That may be even something that this person said, it's worth every penny, knowing it was probably their last. Look, I just opened it up, wasting time. So they amplified your value by even doing this work on you. You stopped caring about how much time it was taking, right? You saw how the value was going up. So you became okay with it. I'm not going to say, anything else. You became like, oh, okay. Because it gave you time to actually study their habits, study what they were doing, et cetera, et cetera. Taking more in that, and it took more and more people to get on board with those manipulation tactics. So now you're using your work to keep your life joyful, full of love, and you're encountering a lot of surprises along the way. All right. Now you're sitting on that top shelf, collective. You're sitting on that top shelf where you belong. They can't even compare with their standard of grace, their standard grade spell work. Like that's what they're doing. Standard grade spell work and manipulation tactics. They can't even compare with you. Most of them are tap, what's on tap? It's just whatever, right? Or well liquor quality, right? Now, something you have to understand about well liquor, it also implies the word well, okay? Well, if we do this to the collective. Well, if we do this to the collective. What they don't realize is that well liquor is kept behind the bar, right? It's on a rack with all the lower quality bottles and mixers specifically here, all right? You knew all too well about mixers in your drinks, all right? You understood the assignment regarding mixing your energy with theirs, okay? And a more expensive and nuanced spirit or alcohol, a more nuanced one, shouldn't have a mixer added to it because it only masks the subtleties, okay? And you don't want to mask your taste, how how the experience of you, right? So it's subtlety at its finest. That's why you work in silence, right? They didn't realize that their easy access, sitting over there with the lemons and the, the Bloody Mary stuff, sitting over there with all those other things, made them lower quality and common as I don't know what, okay? Because they're easy access.
All right. They still really proud though, feeling like they were, you know, as commonly known as a rum and coke, but they don't even have a name. Just rum, not Dictador, not Appleton State, not Caroni. No, no premium labeling at all. Okay? Because premium labeling on liquor comes with a specific refinement and purity. The ingredients are hand selected, crafted with precision, and involve and require a higher degree of care and attention to detail. That's you. You require and involve a higher degree of care and attention to detail. That's what's distinguishing you from the mass produced spell work. Okay? You see, your top shelf spirit began with superior base ingredients, right? Just like any other high quality liquor. Okay. High quality grains, blue agave, yada, 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 right? And you being selective isn't on a whim. You knew that being selective would, in fact, impact your finer flavor profile. You knew that. Okay. And God bless anybody who's able to afford to taste you at this point, right? You're a late bloomer, collective. No, you're just carefully distilled and understand the value of removing impurities from your life, which, if we're still talking liquor, still applies, right? High top shelf liquor is carefully distilled and they remove the impurities from it. This careful removing of impurity leads to a less harsh drinking experience and a more pleasing finish, right? Maybe that's why they say you always get what you want. You keep winning and you keep leveling up. Collective is hard to please. They're too complex. They didn't realize that that combination of superior agreement, ingredients and refined process resulted in the more complex, smooth, enjoyable flavor profile. Okay? People savor every sip of you right now. The theme song for this also is Twister Drinks. And if you listen to the song, he describes all these women as drinks, right? He says he's going to buy out the bar, right? And he's talking about all these drinks, but he couldn't figure out what his favorite drink is. So that may be significant for somebody. Okay. Um, People savor every sip of you now. Every sip. Yeah. Because you're an adventurer. You live in this energy of unknown courage, and your life is thrilling because of it. You persevere, you're solid, you're steadfast, you have a lot of strength, right? That's what that came out right over that screenshot. So that's what people are seeing you create in this process. They don't know anything about an elevated experience. That's what they call this more complex process that's used to make good liquor. Okay. They say it enhances your flavor and an aroma. So that means you looking good, smelling good, feeling good, etc., etc. But these people out here saying you doing too much, collective. That's what people say when they're doing too little, though, right? Collective is just for looks. Collective is all a show. Collective is just a pretty face, right? If we're still talking liquor, because let's admit it, they're definitely drunk in love and intoxicated, if not inebriated, right? But that drunkenness caused them to constantly try to create a reputation for you. Okay? All right, top shelf. They're peering up at you now. All right? That reputation that they tried to enforce put all eyes on you. They changed their minds about that. They'll change their minds about that later. All right. See, influencing people to look at you only did what it does for a true brand. You see? It's exposing you in your purest form. All right. People started seeing beyond the physical product, beyond the bottle, beyond the labeling, beyond all the, media and marketing, you know. But that's what branding does. And it sounds like you've got some free branding from these people, right? They provided free marketing for you, collective. Okay. Now you're top shelf. That means your brand is rare. Okay. And that's beyond the physical product. So in a sense, they were right when they marketed you so well. You know, they were being in complete service to you and your level up, just as God intended. Okay. So don't let it get it twisted. His final product requires that everybody hear all the hype.
When people started examining you and looking deeper, like they were told, oh no, you got to look behind the face. Oh no, you got to look behind the image. Oh no, you got to look. Then they started seeing everything, right? The rarity of the batch. This influenced your brand reputation too. That's what helped influence it beyond the physical product, okay? So whomever this psychopath energy is now trying to say something about maybe even you don't even know how to create a home. You don't know how to set a foundation. You don't know how to run a business. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that, right? So you left the marketing up to them. You moved on from whatever it was that they were saying, whatever they're talking about. If you haven't, you should. All right. Because again, that's free marketing for you. You know, just because you tell somebody Cristal tastes like pee don't mean that they're going to believe you and not taste it for themselves. That could be their taste buds, you know. You wanted to leave the marketing to them. After all, they had already gathered up such a big audience for you and created such a marketing strategy that no one could keep their eyes off you. No one could keep their eyes off of you. And that's why when all eyes were set on you, you decided to present your final product, you know. But you knew that it would also be exclusive too. So you endured the isolation, right? Let them scream, ignore the collective. Don't worry about the collective. They're nobody. And you knew that isolation, if we're still talking about liquor here, this alone time allows the spirit to develop an even more complex, mellow, and balanced flavor. They thought they were leaving you alone, and they were right. And it gave you the opportunity to create what you wanted. See, it's that whole process that it takes to make the finest of liqueurs. Okay? Now, during this process, when a portion of the liquor evaporates, they call this evaporated portion the angel's share. So this isolation contributed to the scarcity and the cost of your final product, accumulating up to this top shelf quality. Okay. So that's created a lot of exclusivity for you, right? Marketing for free. Now it's got them researching things. Now they're trying to research the distilling process. They're trying to research what ingredients you use. They're trying to research everything about you now, right? They did all this marketing saying you taste like, you know, cold hot dog water, right? Oh, goodness. Did all this marketing for you for free, right? For you to turn out to be top shelf liquor, right? Oh, goodness. Let's see. They're probably sitting out there thinking like, oh, the collective thinks they're better than us. Oh, the collective thinks they're this and that and this and that. You know? And it is what it is. That's why you're top shelf, though. There has to be a distinction between the two. That's their problem, always comparing and trying to psychoanalyze you instead of investigating their own unconscious mind to understand their own underlying thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. The reason it doesn't work out like they intended when they sent out hexes and spells and negative energy isn't because they didn't do it right, right? It's not because they didn't do it right at all. It's because energy follows intention, but it doesn't discriminate, okay? Energy follows the intention. The intention is what you want to take place, right? But it doesn't discriminate who it takes place on, right? Which is why they say, oh, backfires are hitting their cousin. Backfires, hit their kids. Backfires hit this, right? It follows the path of least resistance. And the closest target is always the person who does the spell work, right? They're a loaded target at that. They're a loaded target. Because they're the ones with all this evil and darkness within them that they feel for you. This rage and energy. You ever wonder why backfires are even an option? It didn't flip over. Yeah, it didn't flip over. You ever wonder why backfires are ever even an option? You ever wonder why a root worker will completely want to indemnify themselves from a backfire? Why do they warn you? Okay, well, if the spell reverses, it's because these workers and these workings are intended to override someone's natural protection. Okay, it's an attempt at hacking someone's spiritual ranking. And it doesn't work because depending on who the target is, their spiritual immune system is set up just like the body's immune system. Okay? Its purpose is to, the body's immune system, its purpose is to resist infection and toxins, just like your spiritual body, right? So if the intended target resists the negative influence to respond even to a toxic person or a toxic way or toxic whatever, it can't work. Okay? And now some people are like, well, why does it appear that sometimes has an effect initially, right? Well, if you ingest something toxic, let's say you have food poisoning, right? If you have food poisoning, the immune system's first response is to alert you that something is wrong, right? Your stomach starts hurting, you start getting sweaty, nauseated, etc., right? The second response is to remove it from the system. That can happen by vomiting, or sometimes it ends up traveling through your entire digestive system and causes you to defecate. So either spiritually you can see what they're doing and you throw it back at them, that's vomiting, right? Or it goes through the system and you're having to figure out the process through there, right? But you get it out, right? Now, the expulsion happens in a variation of ways, right? When the energy is transmuted, it's similar to defecation. So when you're transmuting energy, it goes all the way through your system. The energy is accepted. Oh, they're sending me this. It's absorbed. Okay. And then it's transmuted or digested, right? This means that the process of digestion means that the energy is broken down into smaller molecules, and then whatever is left from that mixes in. Now, this is where it gets interesting, collective. The mixing process is where the spiritual knowledge of the spell is obtained. Okay, that's why transmutation was very big. Okay, you now have the footprint of whatever that is. Okay, and then you'll know what cleansing you need to do, what prayer, whatever protective work that you know to be correct. Now, when vomiting is a response, when it doesn't even get in and you see it at the gate, like, oh, they're sending this, you spilled your coffee, oh, so and so's doing this. When vomiting is a response, it stops in its tracks and it relieves the person of nausea, right? So it relieves you of having to transmute it. But the best is when you eat something, let's say obviously spoiled or whatever, corroded, and it does absolutely nothing, right? That's the level, that's the spiritual purity level that we want to be on, and the spiritual protection level that we want to be on, where you can eat it and it doesn't do anything to you. Somebody doesn't want me to talk about this. Now, a while back, I ordered some egg foo young from my favorite Chinese place. Now, after eating a few bites, I noticed the smell of pee-pee. It was dead set urine energy. I was just like, what is this? And every time I put the mushroom, the egg foo young stuff up, I was like, dang. My kids and I actually now call it pea foo young instead of egg foo young. But you could literally smell it on my breath. That's how bad the smell was. And I kept eating a little bit more. But it was so protrusive, like it was so stanky that I couldn't bear to eat it anymore just because of the smell. It was like ammonia, like cat pee. And I called the restaurant and explained what was happening and that I was concerned about food poisoning. Now, there was a little back and forth between me and the lady, and said she said she'd credit me for the egg foo young, which wasn't my concern. Okay, it was more than just an issue of a few dollars lost because my meal wasn't enjoyable. My concern was that I would be sick from it. Okay, then she goes on to proclaim that, because she was like, well, I'll give you the money back. And I was like, ma'am, I'm just worried about being sick. Then she goes, well, I'll give you the money, and I put credit down your name. And then she said that she was not going to make me egg foo young again. She said, but if you call back, I'm not going to make egg foo young again for you. I thought that was kind of funny. And it was kind of like, do you think I want pea foo young again now? Like, nonetheless, I didn't get sick though. But the food was so vile. It reeks of ammonia, you guys. It smelled like cat pee for real. Now, what happens when the magic doesn't work? When you eat something like this and you don't get sick, it's because your immune system, your spiritual immune system, has built up to a point that the harmful pathogens have no influence whatsoever. Just like their spell work.
It's like that one person at the barbecue who didn't get sick, but they ate the potato salad too, had the double serving, actually. It's funny because it's often really identifiable too what causes food poisoning. I once had food poisoning from a chocolate chip cookie, and everything, like I had eaten other things that day, but everything smelled like the chocolate chip cookie. Okay. I also had it once from a burrito. And it wasn't the burrito, it was the salsa that I glazed my burrito with. And I knew because the smell was obviously of the tomatoes and stuff like that from the burrito. So just like people who grow a tolerance for drinking, some people may not be able to drink dark liquor because of its effects. Some can't drink clear, vice versa. But over time, people can develop a tolerance within their system that allows them to maintain whether they're drinking brown or clear liquor, right? You ever had a drink and immediately throw it up, but have no symptoms of a hangover the next day? Not a headache or nothing? The other things that can work in this way, okay? There are other things that can work in this way with respect to your plurality, your spiritual purity. Now, for a period of time, I was, having a lot of drinks. I drank, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe even Sunday. But anyway, for a period of time when I was drinking quite a bit, I found this vitamin called Party Smart. And if I took this vitamin after my first sip or two, I wouldn't get any hangover at all. None. This is how protection works, right? Eating healthy, living a life where I'm not creating rancid karmic footprint. This is what makes this possible, okay, spiritually. Now, if I use Party Smart, essentially what was happening is that it helps the body rapidly eliminate the liquor and it prevents it from building up in the system. So that's what your spiritual purity does, okay? Being as spiritually pure as possible is like an antioxidant. Imagine that. Having spiritual antioxidants. Antioxidants neutralize things. That's why it's important to remain at a high level of spiritual wellness. And now, the only person that can determine what that looks like for you and what's right in this scenario for you, sometimes it's a spiritual bath, sometimes it's cleaning your house, sometimes it's changing your mindset. No matter what, it's always a call to action. It could be simple too. It could be like mending a torn item of clothing. It could be taking time to relax or go on a vacation, self-care activities. It could be pursuing a lawsuit, right? It could be making that police report about your ex who threw your head up between the washer and the dryer, right? It could be all these different things. It could be setting that appointment or applying for that new job or asking that new coworker if they want to grab lunch with you or that lady that you keep seeing at the library if she wants to go out for a coffee date and just chat it up, right? It could be removing something too, like getting a new barber because your old one always cancels or their schedule doesn't work with yours anymore. It could be firing your landscaper or changing your kid's school to the one that meets their needs or blocking somebody's number or blocking them on social media. It could be to stop calling somebody, stop checking their social media, stop hanging out at the club, not watching tarot, buying a new organizer so you don't miss any more appointments, trying a new exercise program that fits into your schedule, not letting anybody know about your next moves. It could be anything, right? Hell, you could even keep the cleanest home but have dirty fingernails, right? You could always feed your children, but it's never a home cooked meal. You could, you just have to look at what you're doing or not doing. That's to the highest standard. Like you could keep a clean home, but the doors and the light switches got smudges and stuff all over it. You could never clean your stove or fridge, but always have your clothes ironed and ready. You suited and booted when you walk out, but when you walk in that kitchen, it's not the same. It's not the same. It could be the way that you speak or think of others or yourself. And I'm not talking about intuition, like when your intuition tells you something wrong with that person. Not that. It's the additional things where you go in. It's not intuition. I'm talking about negative communications to yourself or others. Whatever it is, it always requires action. It's not always about fighting against the energy, the person, or the spell, or the hex, or all the rest of that, right? It's not always about fighting against it. It's about purifying yourself so that you are an antioxidant, that you completely neutralize yourself, okay? It's about creating a spiritual immune system so that it has no effect on your level up. And that's pretty much it for today. I hope that this has been helpful and insightful in some way, shape, or form, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.